Hello everyone, here we are, not quite together, but together through technology. I'm so glad that we at least have all these ways to talk to each other and tell a story and share some art projects. I think next week we might have the kind of thing where you talk to each other through the computer screen on Zoom or whatever platform we choose. That could be really fun because then we can do something together and everybody can talk to each other about it. I will love that. So I hope that's okay with your parents. We'll find out how that works. But for today, we need to talk a little bit about Easter coming. It's spring and it stopped raining and I love the rain. Rain is money in the bank. We need that rain for everything that we are enjoying today in the sunshine. Everything growing needed that rain. So I'm glad we had that rain. But I'm also glad when the rain stops. My favorite part about rain is when it comes and then it goes away because I really like the sunny days. Those are kind of my favorite. And so today we are going to enjoy some art behind me. Hopefully we'll be able to show you some finished projects. These projects, you know, they take time and there are no mistakes in art, and art sort of has its own timeline. So I don't want to rush us, but I want to show you what we're doing. And we might have done that if we had had Sunday school together. But that's okay because you might be able to do this at home. I tried to pick a project that maybe we would be able to do at home with a variety of materials. So we'll talk about that in a minute. First, I want to read to you a story. And sometimes in our Sunday school class, we read straight from the Bible because I, in the faith class, enjoy teaching and learning from the children that are old enough to read straight from the Bible. We have graduated from Godly Play, we are preparing for youth group, and we read right from God's Word, right from the Bible. But today, I found this, and this is one of my kids' favorite things to read from when they were much younger than now. But I think they still enjoy it. I know I do. The pictures are great. The Jesus Storybook Bible, and Sally Lloyd-Jones wrote this, and it was illustrated by an artist that just goes by the name Yago. So we bought this when we were in Santa Cruz at Mount Hermon, and I think these authors, this author and this illustrator, are pretty fabulous. So you could just look that up online if you wanted to get a version of this, or if you want to borrow my book. I love to share my books. Just let me know. So the story today is from Mark and John. If you remember, Mark and John were friends of Jesus. And we learn a lot about those two, and we read a lot from the books of Mark and John in our class. And we need to talk a little bit about the story of the Servant King. It was Passover, the time when God's people remembered how God had rescued them from being slaves in Egypt. Every year, they would kill a lamb, and they would say the lamb died instead of us. But this Passover, God was getting ready, and the people were getting ready for an even greater rescue. They didn't even know they were getting ready. This was the very first Easter. Jesus and his friends were having the Passover meal together in an upstairs room. Jesus' friends were having a discussion. What about? Well, they were discussing feet. Stinky feet, dirty feet. Now the thing about feet back then is that people, they didn't really wear shoes like you and me. Like, look, I'm going to show you what I have. Oh, my spring Vans, my yellow and white Vans.
I'm not wearing shoes.
They're not wearing shoes behind me. We don't always wear shoes at our house. I put on my shoes because I came outside. But hey, it's shelter in place. Wear your pajama pants, shoes, no shoes. That's okay. Back then, the time that we're talking about, they might just have their feet. They might have a sandal. They might make a sandal. They might buy a sandal, right? If they were fancy. But mostly, their feet got pretty dirty, pretty stinky. The streets in those days were really dirty. They weren't like the sidewalks we have now and the asphalt on the main roads that the cars drive on now. They were mostly dirt. And so when cows and horses and chickens and goats and all of the important animals walked on these streets, they got extra dirty and extra stinky. Anyways, somebody had to wash away the dirt, and it was a dreadful job. Who on earth would ever dream of volunteering to do it? In fact, only some of the lowliest servants would do it. Now, I don't like to think of people as lowly or highly, but I'll tell you, there were servants known as the lowliest servants. And those people would often wash the feet. Here's some cool pictures. I'm filming this myself on my homemade tripod that involves all these things, the ottoman and the bar stool and 5 board games, including one of my favorite, What Do You Meme? Family Edition. You can also order that or borrow it from me if you want. So I hope you can see the pictures, because no one is behind the camera telling me. So, can you see that?
I'll check.
Okay. Oh, Piper's, that is so helpful.
Yeah,
Okay, you can see that. That's good. All right, so did you see though, did you see the stinkiness? It's not to say animals are dirty, they gotta live, right? And so are the animals and the people and your feet are in that. Well, I'm not the servant, said Peter. Nor am I, said Matthew. Quietly. So quiet. I like that about Jesus. I find he was often very quiet and made a very big point. Jesus got up from the table and took off his robe. He picked up a basin of water. He knelt down and started to wash his friends' feet. You can't, said Peter. He didn't understand. Jesus was a king. How? He's not a servant. If you don't let me wash away the dirt, Peter, said Jesus, you can't be close to me. Jesus knew that the people need to be cleaned on the inside. All the dirt on their feet was nothing compared to the cleaning that we sometimes need on the inside. It's natural to get our feet dirty. And did you know it's really natural to sin? Sin is something where we break the rules about being a good neighbor. And sometimes we refer to that as kind of dirty. And it needs some cleaning. And it's so easy. It's even easier than cleaning your feet. You can just have a prayer and pray to God and ask him what to do and tell him you are so very sorry and would he please forgive you? And now, thanks to Easter, you can get forgiveness. It's my favorite part about Easter. Not even the candy. Truth. Forgiveness. Then wash me, Lord, Peter said, tears filling his eyes, all of me. And one by one, Jesus washed everyone's feet. I am doing this because I love you, Jesus exclaimed. Please do this for each other. Now, one of Jesus' friends had made a bad plan. Guys, I'm not going to go off on one of my Miss Suzanne rambles where I talk about the bad plans, but we all have had bad plans. For instance, this video where I say we're only going to do it in one take no matter what comes out of Miss Suzanne's mouth, with the ottoman and the bar stool and the board games, and I keep getting distracted because if you ever buy What Do You Meme Family Edition, it has a squirrel on it. Squirrel. Anyway, so bad plans happen to all of us, and some bad plans are worse than others, but Jesus knows what to do about our bad plans. And he's told us what to do, and God has told us what to do in the Bible. So just hang tight. We're going to hear about Judas's bad plan. And I want you to remember that when you come to Sunday school, or you come to church, or you watch our videos, or you talk to each other in the community, that we can all help each other with our bad plans and what to do about that. Because bad plans happen. And bad plans happen to good people. And then you just have to make a good choice about the bad plan that you made. So that's what we're getting into now with a man named, who's the guy that made the really bad plan around Easter?
Judas.
Yes. I mean, we need to practice. Okay. No one else knew what the bad plan was. But Jesus knew. And so did Judas. Judas was going to help the leaders capture Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Jesus, 30 pieces of silver. Okay. Go on, Judas, Jesus said. And Judas got up from the meal, left the room, and walked out into the night. Now, I can't remember if I showed you the picture. Sometimes I get really into the story, and my kids in the faith class will say, pictures. So I'm just going to go back to Jesus washing the feet. Here's Peter. See? And they're up there in the special room where they have the special meal. And then some people, they got their feet washed. Now, I'm really hoping you can see this picture. I'm trying to do it like we did before. You get your feet washed in the story in our Holy Week on Thursday. Okay, so this Thursday, if you want to be really into Holy Week and Easter, you can say to your parents, oh my goodness, it's Thursday. Now, with the lockdown, sometimes I have to look at the calendar and I say, Piper, good morning. Oh, what day is it? Because I haven't been to work and nobody's been to school and we don't really leave the house and I can't remember what day it is. So I look at the calendar and I say, oh, look at that. Oh, it's Tuesday. So, today is Tuesday. We're making this video for you. So tomorrow will be Wednesday. And then Thursday. I know you know all that. But on Thursday, we call it Maundy Thursday. I'm just going to move my dog a little bit. There we go. Maundy Thursday was the day they were up in the room upstairs. And they were eating that meal together. And Jesus knew. Oh, and he told Judas, go on, Judas. He knew what was going on there. And then he did the feet washing. And he did the big lesson. We have to clean each other. No one is above forgiveness of sins. Servant, master, king, these are just labels. Okay, all right, so I showed you the picture, right? Okay, then Judas is going down the stairs, because where was the room? Upstairs. There's the animals outside. Remember, the animals are outside, and sometimes that's why we gotta wash our feet. There goes Judas. I mean, he had to make that bad plan for us to have an amazing faith, but every time I read this story, I'm like, oh, Judas. Okay. Then Jesus picked up some bread and he broke it and he gave it to his friends. What does that remind you of? Does that remind you of communion? Whoa. First communion. I get so excited. Okay. And he picked up a cup of wine and he thanked God for it. And he poured it, and he shared it. My body is like bread. It will break. Oh. Jesus told them, this cup of wine is like my blood. It will pour out. But this is how God will rescue the whole world. My life will break, and God's broken world will mend. And my heart will tear apart, and your hearts will heal. Just as the Passover lamb died, so now I will die instead of you. My blood will wash away all of your sins, and you'll be clean on the inside, in your hearts. So, whenever you eat and drink, remember, said Jesus, I've rescued you. Jesus knew it was nearly time for him to leave the world and go back to God. I won't be with you long, he said. You are going to be very sad. But God's helper will come, and then you'll be filled up with forever happiness, and that won't ever leave. Don't be afraid. You are my friends, and I love you. And then they sang their favorite song, and they walked up to their favorite place, the Olive Garden. This is a drawing, because somebody read these really important words from God, and this important story about Jesus, and you'll see all types of illustrations. And that means an artist sat down and thought about all the goodness that's in Jesus and tried to give it shape. And here's what this illustrator did. Did you remember his name was Yago?
Breadsticks.
There you go.
Did that Olive Garden have breadsticks?
Piper's telling a funny joke about Olive Garden, where they went. And it's a restaurant, a chain, and their commercials talk about breadsticks. She wants to know if there were breadsticks, and Piper, they ate very important bread before the Olive Garden, so yes, it's funny you should ask. So here's Jesus and the cup and the bread. And communion on Easter is one of my very, very favorite things to do. That's okay. It's okay. Now, I was thinking about something just now. I was having one of my special squirrel thoughts. I'm going to tell you. Squirrel thoughts are where I get a little distracted, and that's when the magic happens. Kind of like when you're busy doing something and a squirrel goes by and you have to look at it. That's like those thoughts. So let me tell you something. I was thinking about how Jesus was the teacher during this time up in the room. And he was saying that he won't ever leave and not to be afraid, that even when he's not with you, he's still kind of with you. Now, I don't want to compare your school teachers at school to Jesus because I try really hard not to compare anyone to Jesus. That's really not fair to anyone. But I will tell you this. Some of us really, really love our teachers at school. Sometimes they're not your favorite, but you still learn a bunch. And sometimes they're your very favorite teacher, and they're kind of your favorite part of the day. And we can't be with them right now. And my heart goes out to you because when you can't be with someone in your life that teaches you so much and helps you feel so special and helps you grow really strong and big and smart, that's a really hard thing. But I want you to think about what Jesus said in this story. Because he said, when I'm not with you, I'm still with you. And it makes me think that all the things your teachers have taught you in the classroom, before we all had to close our doors and put our iPads on the bar stool and the ottoman and all the games, and come up with these things to do, and send the video, and say, I miss you. They taught you all those things, and they're still inside you. So your teachers are still with you every day, even if they're not on the laptop in the Zoom, or they're not sending you an email or a special project or a packet that your mom and dad help you with. Or your grandma or your grandpa or whoever's taking great care of you. Your teachers are still inside you because you listened to them, and that stays with you. So I think that's pretty special. And I know Jesus was still with the disciples, even though he had to go up on the cross and leave us, because he's part of God, and God can be right inside you. And that's the good light shining part about you that helps you make the good plans. Okay, so I was missing our church. I'm back on track now. See that? That was a good squirrel. Most of my thoughts that go astray are good squirrels, and then sometimes
Some are questionable.
it's fine. Sometimes I have some thoughts that are like, Mom, don't do that on the video. So I'm not doing that on the video. It's fine. We're fine. So check it out. We're doing these stained glass windows today because one of my favorite things to do, mostly during church, I'm in the classroom with you guys because that's where I want to be, and I love learning from you, and I love sharing the story, and I love when we just sit and talk about what we need to pray for and how life is going and what to celebrate and what's really frustrating, and it's my favorite thing to do with you. But then when we go to the church, right at communion. And one of my favorite things to do when I'm walking back from communion is to look at our stained glass windows. And every stained glass window in every church I've ever visited, of all the faiths and all the temples, always tell a beautiful story, either with their shapes or their colors. Sometimes they actually have Jesus in the Olive Garden, and Jesus in the upstairs room, and Jesus with Mary, and Jesus on the cross, and Jesus' tomb. Sometimes they have the story about when Jesus was born. Sometimes they just have beautiful nature things going on, like flowers and trees and beautiful colors that remind us that God's creation is just so beautiful. And at our church, right around communion time, no matter what time of the year it is, the light comes right through the windows. And at Easter, the light that comes right through the windows is totally different than at Christmas when the light comes through the windows. And sometimes I just stare at those while I'm walking back from communion, and it's pretty magical. And I'm sure you've done that too, but I was just going to share that's one of my favorite things to do at our church. I really love our windows, especially the one at the very, very back. And when we get ready for the Christmas pageant, here comes another squirrel. When we get ready for the Christmas pageant, we hang out in the back, and before everybody goes down when it's your part to go, and we've been doing that for so many years, I love to look behind me and see the magic light that comes through that particular window. It's one of my favorites. Okay, so today we're making some stained glass windows. Let's focus. I'm going to get up from this stool, and you might want to look at Piper and Evan and what they're doing. We're all doing a different variation. Okay. Evan.
Hello.
Well, hello. Hello, Evan. What are you doing today?
Basically.
Gosh, it's like the magic of Hollywood in our backyard. I'm
made-
going to talk loudly because we're in the backyard and I don't know that you can hear us. So it might sound silly or it might sound perfect. Let's go with that.
So I took a lot of tape and I put them in just random sections. I made them random shapes and then I colored the insides. Maybe I did a couple patterns, a little cross, and
What will happen when you take the
in
tape
the
off?
end, once I take the tape off, it will look really cool because it looks almost.
Can I take the
perfect.
tape off?
You can also take tape off.
I don't like to touch people's art unless it's okay. Can I take this?
Yes.
Oh, stop it. Stop it right now. I want to be so careful. So sorry. Oh my goodness. I can't handle it. Look at this. Okay. Whoa. Okay, I've only taken one segment off. But can you see how that white is a perfect straight line in between the beautiful shapes? That's like on the stained glass window, you'll see what we call the grout. And there are lines in between that seal the different colored pieces of glass. Oh, I love that. Can I set this down? This is
Yes.
beautiful. So, Evan,
I'll show you guys. the
you
completed-
took a big piece of white paper and you took this paint. This paint is blue and easy to take off most things. I know we're struggling a little bit with that
I
paper.
think you mean
I
tape.
mean tape.
Tape.
Because you know why I said paint. Guess why? I jumped ahead of myself.
Ah, yes.
This is painter's tape. So this is painter's tape, and I'm so glad you're here. I just keep calling it whatever I was calling it. That's okay. So this is painter's tape. You might have this around the house. It's blue, and you know it's painter's tape because if you touch it, it's not super sticky. And it's not super sticky on purpose. It's just paper tape that's a little bit sticky. And you put it on places in your house that you don't want to paint. It might be the molding. It might be the hardware.
Maybe the walls.
It might be the whole wall. Piper is doing a variation that I said yes to because in our house, art and everything really just sort of happens, and as long as it doesn't cause permanent damage, and
Yeah.
sometimes it does, and you know,
We'll see.
we say okay to that on spring break, where we didn't travel to a national park that we love.
Please don't
and we're
inhale
here.
the chalk. It doesn't
I
taste
told
good.
her, yeah, you could do this.
On the
And this
contrary.
chalk will wash right off. We're about to power wash our house and replace some siding. So this, kids, I need you to know this was perfect timing for Piper to take some chalk and go to town. This is a wall outside my bedroom window, and I love the idea that I'm going to be able to wake up on Easter morning and see this right outside my window. So I said, oh yes, absolutely. So if you are going to draw with chalk, not on the ground, but on the side of your house, I need you to ask mom and dad. And if you do that, and they say yes, you can just hose it off later, or you could get a bucket with some soapy warm water and a sponge and just have a party and take it off. And that's fun. I like washing things. Okay, so Piper is using chalk as well, but she's not doing it on the paper. She's doing it on the wall. Now we are already learning some tips here. Evan, are you finding that on the paper, the painter's tape grabs
A little bit too much.
a little bit too much and it's a little tricky to take off? But you know what? I'm looking at it. It looks amazing. So with some patience and some finesse, it is working. But it's now we know that the painter's tape on regular white paper, if the paper isn't shiny or painted, it might grab a little harder than we want it to. So you're learning this with us, which is great. Piper's will come right off because this wall is painted. And she's making geometric shapes. Geometric shapes all have straight lines. It's where a line meets another line, makes an angle. And you might have all different kinds. She's got triangles, a closed geometry over here. She loves it. A closed line segment. Segments, plural. So she's done some triangles, all different kinds of triangles. And Piper, this triangle has a wide, pointy head top. He's got an obtuse angle. And then he's got, oh, in this triangle, this is almost like a diamond. What's happening here? This is a trapezoid because it's got a flat top. This is exciting. Okay, so she's got that going on.
Oh,
And if I
it's
say
not
anything
a trapezoid.
mathy, she's going to
It's a
correct me because
quadrilateral. I said that wrong.
then I'm talking over her. I'm sorry. We do that. Piper quadrilateral.
Yeah, not a trapezoid.
Is that where you got two parallel lines like a train track?
No.
Like
It's
this.
just a four-sided shape. It's just a four-sided.
Does it have to be
It's any four-sided
No.
shape.
Any four-sided
Nothing to
shape.
do
It's
with
a
parallel.
quadrilateral. To be a
Homeschooling.
trapezoid, this would be a parallel.
All right.
Parallels.
Anyways, you're gonna make some lines, and they're gonna make some really cool shapes. And if you love math, woo, you can really get down with it. And if you just love art and you remember
Awesome.
some math, and you use some math and some math you remember, and some math you still learn about again with your kids, because you're home every day, learning together, all the days, always. But you're safe at home, and that's wonderful. Okay, so I'm doing a different variation. Now I don't want to keep you too long on this video, but I also want to point out that you don't really have anywhere to be. So I'm going to keep talking a little bit.
Keep talking.
I went through all our materials, and we didn't have any clear wax paper. We had this brown, good for the planet wax paper, so that was good stuff. And but you know, I was thinking, is this wax paper? Can you see that? The sun's just shining right through it like our church windows. So I taped off my paper, my wax paper that I've been using to make 8,000 cookies every day. I just eat those cookies because that's okay. It's okay because, sorry,
We can do hard things.
we can do hard things, and
Do
if
you
we need
need
to eat those cookies, that's fine.
Ah,
Okay, so I taped
Wrinkles.
down my wax paper, and let's all talk one at a time. I think that's helpful, and I'm telling me that too. You might get chalk on your face. That's okay. It's fine. Have a towel. So let's talk about materials for the kids. Let's get organized in our message. Chalk. Maybe you use markers. Colored pencils. I had these crazy things around. Pastels. You might have used this in art class. Pastels is what I'm using because pastels works the very best on this wax paper. And guess what else happened? There are no accidents in art. There are no mistakes in art. It's all meant to be. I put my wax paper down on this cool table, and I got my pastel out. This one's purple. And I started to fill in one of my shapes, and it was a rubbing on the textured table, and I got this really cool pattern underneath. And that's another art technique you can do called rubbings. You can go and you can put like a leaf or a rock or like a cool quarter or a coin you have, and you put paper on top and lightly rub with colored pencils or pencil, and you'll get the texture underneath. So that was super exciting because I got a double whammy art project.
I also suggest glasses to avoid getting it in your eyeball.
And I'm already wearing my goggles today because I had to
We're
drive
goals.
to drop something off very important in Sonoma. I work for an amazing organization called WildCare. Many of you already know that. I love my job very much, and today I needed to help a patient go from our hospital to another hospital. And it was a very important wild animal patient, and I had to be very quiet and drive the whole way there and deliver that animal safe and sound. And whenever I'm driving, I try to wear my glasses so I can see. And
That's
whenever I read you a story out of the Jesus Storybook Bible, I wear my glasses as well.
That's also good.
But Piper's saying, hey, it's good to have protection. Look at your protection. Show them.
That's some cool protection.
Look
No,
cool
don't-
while you're
don't
making
eat the
stained glass
chocolate.
windows.
Back.
That's
Don't
cool.
eat it.
Okay,
Hey.
so are you
Hey, I
trying to
got
keep
yours
the
for
chalk
a
out
reason.
so he doesn't eat the... Yeah, get that dog out so he doesn't eat the chalk. I almost said get that chalk out so he doesn't eat the dog.
Don't
Nice.
let the chalk eat the dog.
Don't let the chalk eat the dog.
Don't let
okay,
the
sorry.
chalk
Okay,
eat the
guys.
dog.
Guys, they don't want to watch reality TV. They want an art project. Okay, so now,
I beg to differ.
when we were baking, man, we looked scripted. We were flowing. Today we're a little bit like,
We're just
you
ad-libbing
were a
it.
little more natural today. But we wanted to make sure you got your video.
Yep.
And it all comes from the goodness of our hearts. We miss you. And if we were in Sunday school class, we'd just be talking like this. We're not trying to be like on a special Food Network TV show today. We're having some art in the backyard. And we're talking about Easter and bad plans and what to do and God saved us. And gosh, those are important conversations to have.
Of course.
Okay, so what am I doing right now? Let me show you. I'm making some shapes. So you take your tape. Let me give you the 1, 2, 3. So we said you needed tape. You need some sidewalk or ground or wood fencing or part of your house that's about to get pressure washed and you're about to get a new roof and some siding and some gutters, and so your mom's like, yeah, you can put stuff on there.
Need help?
Maybe you have an old piece of wall or drywall or something cool in the garage that's just there in storage, or a piece of wood. You could use your chalk on there. It doesn't have to be an actual window. I found the wax paper because I thought, oh, that's kind of like a window, and I might hang it in a window when I'm finished. You could hang this right up on your wall and have something super beautiful.
Yeah.
And actually the light's kind of shining through that too. And the light will shine on this, maybe not through it, but on it different times of the
Hopefully not
day.
through the
And that'll be so beautiful to see the different ways that that looks.
Definitely.
I'm loving that, Piper. So when Piper takes the tape off, we probably won't do it in the video because
We might. I'm almost done.
we'll see. We'll see if she wants to. She's got a couple more shapes to do. If she wants to take it off, okay. But you'll see how when Evan took his off, you have those great white spaces right in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's like the grout part of your stained glass window.
I have grayish blue
Okay,
spaces in between.
so I'm going to keep going on mine. Evan, do you want to turn around and help me? It looks like you came up with some cool shapes. I might need some help with that. So I thought if I just have my lines intersect, you don't need to be perfect with these shapes. I guess if I were to give some tips on this, just have your lines cross at different spots on your paper. I didn't even think of that till just now. All the lines are crossing another line. It's like a cross. Easter art. Anyways, so
Squirrel thought.
woo! Squirrel thoughts for the win. Okay, so we do the crossing of the lines, and that makes different triangles, different diamonds, quadrilaterals, parallelograms, trapezoids, triangles, polygon. You guys, we're getting math, Sunday school, art. What else?
Crazy.
It's crazy. It's all the school. Now you might be in the middle of spring break. My kids are. But you can keep learning at home. You can keep doing your art. We live on a road where the motorcycles like to go out and see the ocean. So you might hear a motorcycle in a minute.
They should.
Or you might not, depending on how good our audio is.
I don't know. I think you're gonna hear it. Anyways, they
Shouldn't be going out
love
there.
to do that. And since it's the lockdown and you stay in your house, stay safe in your house, not stuck in your house, safe in your house. They go out there more and more. They go out for a little ride. It used to only be on Sundays, and we didn't hear them much because we were with you. But now we hear them a little bit more. It's so quiet where we live. We hear them a little bit more lately. Okay. So, yes. Oh my goodness. Some of the shapes we're making remind me a lot of where we live. Where we live, there's a design of home that Marin County, our county where we live, is very famous for, a man Joseph Eichler. And he loves lines like this. And there are homes called Eichler homes where we live. And it makes our little valley pretty special. Because those lines, you'll see those lines in his rooftops and the outside of where you park your car. And, well, you just see lines everywhere in all the architecture, I guess. But he especially liked all these triangles. He was really into those, which is cool. I love when an artist kind of gets into a shape and colors. Some of these colors remind me a lot of Eichler. It was a modern time.
Vivid.
Yeah, real vivid. Good call. And certain colors there in his schemes. Okay, let's see what we're doing. Do we need one more, Evan? I feel like I want to make that
Right
happen.
there.
Oh, good. I know. So Evan just showed me that when I put my tape down, I needed to put a little piece on top to make sure the straight line went all the way. And you can do that. You don't even need scissors. Let me show you how painter's tape works. Now, if you don't have painter's tape in your house, maybe you don't do as many home projects as we do, and then people come out and they paint and they leave. That's okay. You can use masking tape. That one might be light brown and it looks like a paper tape. You could use some Scotch tape because Scotch tape is going to go on there and it'll be see-through. You'll have to look for it, but it will resist. That's another art term. Cough into your elbow. Resist the color you're putting on. That means it says no color here because the color won't go through that. What's another
tape.
kind of tape? Plumbing tape. You might have that around. Just remember that tape might be harder to take off. So this is a time for you to play around a little bit. Dry erase board. Maybe you could put on tape and take it back off if you don't leave it on too long. Do your dry erase markers. Make that cool pattern. Start over.
Don't be afraid to get messy.
Don't be afraid to get messy, says Piper. She's whispering that to me. We are a very, we embrace the mess, right? I mean, we have some tidy things in our, our kitchen. We try to tidy it several times a day, but we're not afraid to make the mess in the first place. So I would tell you art is more fun. Sometimes it's nice to stay organized, you know where your materials are. But if you want to get messy, I say get messy. She loves to get messy. And I'd love to see her art. Evan, you
also,
have almost finished this
A
table.
fun tip, if you are doing a wall inside or outside, hopefully outside, just be wary that you're going to have chalk dust. Kind of magical. Right below your
Oh my goodness.
painting.
Should I take the camera and show them?
I think so.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. At the end of this video, I'm going to take this camera and I'm going to take some pictures. And so in our newsletter, a church newsletter that goes out, you're part of the club. If you're watching this video and you go to our church and our Sunday school, you get a little extra, a little something. You get the pictures because what happened is, I'll just tell you about it. All the chalk dust went down onto our decorative rocks, and that's okay. You can just wash it off. Chalk washes right off. But they look like Easter eggs right now. I'm gonna hold a rock up. Okay, just kidding. Whoever's watching this video, you get to see it. Watch this. It's okay. I'm gonna hold it so carefully, like a powdered donut. I love powdered donuts. Okay.
Blow on it, blow on it, blow on it,
You should go on it.
blow on
It
it.
looks like an Easter egg, but it's a rock. I really hope you can see this right now. Evan, you might need to do a camera check. Tell me, maybe don't go that way. That's okay. You'll be careful.
All the ways are great.
Can you see it? Okay, don't move the camera. I like how we had it marked. Can
There
I?
you go.
Tell me where to go. Be my producer, my director. Oh, okay. Can you see
There we
it?
go. Now you can
There
see
it is. And then watch this. Piper wants me to do this, the magic of television, because we're so professional here. We're professional people here. Watch. Ready? Look how pretty that is. It's like Easter egg. We didn't even know. So that was like an accident in art. And we got more art. Art is just fun. Go and try some art. I'm not an artist. And I try art because I think it's fun. And it's so cool. And it's
really
so
cool.
cool. Look at that. Can you see it? Hi.
I can see it. That looks super
So colorful.
cool. Oh, the light from the oak trees is very pretty. So
Is it
it's
the
a-
golden hour?
Not gold. It's like there's little white circles everywhere. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Pretty
All right.
bomb.
So I'm glad we figured out a way to show you those rocks. Started. So did you see that? I persisted. I stayed with it, and it was awesome. We have to be persistent and resilient, and it's okay to melt down too.
We
If
can
you
do
guys
hard things.
are getting, we can do hard things. That's right, Piper. If you're feeling frustrated at home right now because life is upside down, right? We were all in our little life, this is how we live our life, and then somebody shook it up and then told us all, stay down, stay in, and that's really hard. But it's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay. First of all, it's okay to feel all the feels. God gave us all those feelings for a reason, and they all deserve equal attention. So if you're having an exciting day where you bake all the cookies and make all the art and play all the board games and you're like, wow, I feel kind of guilty, I like this, that's great. And then if you're having a day where you are mad at the world and mad at everything that's been canceled and mad at everybody in your house that you normally love so much or kind of love or however you love them is your business, and you are frustrated and a little tired of being with them all the time, drink some water. Drink some water. Take a walk. Take a breather. Let your family know, I need some space. And feel all the feels. You need to feel those feels. And if you need some help from your your church family while you're feeling all those feels, you tell your mom and dad, and you reach out to us. And we care in the Sunday school department. We absolutely care, and we'll be there. Wow, you've got black in there. So Evan made two, because I was so busy talking. And I don't know if you can see the light shining through. I'm going to hold it up this way, like a stained glass window. Piper, can they see the light coming through it? I think they can.
Kind of, yeah.
Can you go look in the
Bits of
Can you
light.
go look in the camera? Oh
I'm
my
almost ready.
goodness, you guys. Is that like a stained glass window, Evan? Wow. Well, from where I'm standing, it looks amazing.
It looks amazing right here.
And I'm thinking while we do this, that this is great. You know what you could even do? If you wanted the space between the sheets to be smaller, you could even cut this in half. I mean, there's so many variations to this art project. You could make a heart. You could make a cross. You could make all the things. So we want you to go home. We want you to do some baking if you feel like it. We want you to try some art. And we want you to keep reading. Keep reading your books, because that's a great way to travel if you're feeling stuck at home, even though we're safe at home, and you want to travel a little bit. I think reading a book is the easiest way to travel and go somewhere else and be with some other people for a little while. So don't forget to read. And if you need to borrow some books, I'm going to put a link in our newsletter, our church newsletter, about how here in our county to borrow some books very easily. The library has orchestrated some pretty special ways to do that. That's all I think for today. And I hope you enjoyed this. We always do it in what we call in the fancy TV and movie world, one take. So Evan, I noticed you've yawned 4 times today in
Four
one
times.
take. But I don't think you're bored. Did you like this art project?
This was really fun.
It's pretty fun. I think you're just chill, you know, late afternoon, sun coming through the oak trees. We're doing our art, kind of in a chill mood. And the wind is kicking up in the valley where we live. This is the time where the wind really gets going. So we picked the perfect time, I think, to maybe end our video. Piper, are you taking your tape off? Is this the big reveal?
This is
Okay,
the
Evan, why don't we come off camera here? Okay, well, let's look over here. Oh my goodness.
pretty great.
Oh wow. Okay, so again, we have the paper. Little bit challenging if it's not shiny paper because the tape grabs, but I think that's still really beautiful. A lot of symmetry going on there. We had the wax paper that lets the light go through, and you might be able to put that up on your window and let the light shine through all those shapes. And then we had
Big wall.
this one, big wall. Wow. Just wow. Can I take one off?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really satisfying.
It seems very satisfying. Maybe I'll take this one off.
Yeah, you'll have to put the top one on.
Whoa! Evan, do you want to take one off?
Yeah.
Can he take one off?
Of course.
Maybe do that one. Evan, you've been getting so tall during the spring break. If you could do the tall ones. I'm the shortest in my household now. It's not really important to a Sunday school lesson, but in case you wondered in ways that I've changed, I didn't get shorter. My children decided to grow taller, and that's healthy and good, and yay for that. It's fine. All right, you guys, we're going to wrap up this video. I'm so glad you joined us. I just want to tell you something. We had sometimes it's slow during the lockdown, and sometimes it's really busy. We were having a really busy week. And that's a good thing. That means there were ways in our life, in our work, and in our school, and in volunteer and community ways that we could be helpful, and we were really busy. And we stopped everything today and said, wait, we got to do the video because we hope that you're enjoying that. We hope that at least watching it, even if you don't want to make this art, maybe you liked the story we read, maybe you're laughing and you're going, oh my gosh, look at Miss Suzanne. What is going on with Piper and Evan today? Let's count Evan's yawns. How many times did Miss Suzanne say squirrel? maybe you're just enjoying that part of the video. We do this because we miss you, and this is our way to sort of have our Sunday school class again. And right now we would probably say the Lord's Prayer, and we'd all share some nourishment, and then we'd go into our chapel and look at the beautiful windows and say hi to our moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and community members, and we'd take communion together, and then we'd start our week. We can't do that, but we can make this video and talk a little bit about our faith and our silly stuff that's going on in the Egan home, and we hope that you enjoyed it. And oh my goodness, I think I like it best on the wall. You need to ask your parents. I do not regret this at all. I only wish it was maybe kind of permanent. Evan and I had a blast making ours. Those were great, but I have to say, maybe you paint a surface and then do the chalk? Maybe. So let's say you have the paper and you have some paints at home. Maybe you do the paint, let it dry, and then do the chalk on top. I don't know, but I know that this happened on the house, on the side of the house where it was painted, and it turned out beautifully. We've seen on the internet, we don't come up with anything really. We saw this on the internet, and we saw that people were doing it on their sidewalks and their driveways, concrete, with the chalk, and it turned out that well. And they were doing it on their wooden fence lines, and it turned out that well. So maybe that's the best way to do it, is to get some chalk and go outside and play with some tape and play with the shapes. And any shape works. It's pretty special. So we're going to say goodbye.
Yep.
And thank you for
Goodbye.
watching us again. We hope you liked it. I'd say like and subscribe or whatever that is, but we're not really doing it that way. We use YouTube so you can see a really long video, because if we emailed that video to you, it would be too long. So thank you to YouTube for having a platform where we can post something for you. And we're certainly not trying to have a YouTube channel, but it's a great way for us to reach out to you and show you some art projects. So happy Easter, you guys.
Happy Easter, guys.
We miss you. We miss the egg hunt that we would have had. And so if you go and hunt some eggs in your own backyard, I hope that you think about your church family, and I hope you think about all the special things about spring and what Easter means and what Jesus did for us and how God lives inside of all of us, and that light still shines whether we are safe at home or out in the world. So take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye.